Welcome back. You're watching the Power Breakfast Show. Now, this morning in our political interview, we want to focus on the IEBC Impasse. And in studio, we're joined by Mr. Ekuro Court. He's a team leader of the Third Way Alliance, and he's a presidential candidate as well. Of course, Mteginja will be asking much more about that. But 22422 is the SMS line should you want to be part of this conversation. Remember, you can join us on Twitter. The hashtag is Power Breakfast. We'd love to hear from you. Your comments, questions, suggestions, get in touch with us. For now, I hand you over to Mr. Njao. Mr. Njao?
Thank you, Karigo. Bwana Ekuro Court. Yes, you have been described as a presidential candidate and also the leader or team leader of Third Way Alliance.
Yes.
What is Third Way Alliance?
Third Way Alliance is basically the alternative movement, the alternative leadership for Kenya. Our feeling is that the country for the longest time has been fed only one narrative. Mutegi, I think you are old enough to recall that 50 years ago, the political contestation in this country was about Kenyatta's versus Odinga's. 50 years later, again, it's about Kenyatta's and Odinga's. So the question we really asked ourselves was, is it possible that political leadership in this country can go beyond certain dynasties, certain individuals, certain families? And precisely for that reason, we felt that for the reason, and these are the following reasons that actually compelled us, that if you look at that political contestation in Kenya today, it has capitalized one on ethnicity that comes with the region. And therefore the consequence of it is to bring about negative ethnicity, tribalism in the management of our political affairs. So much so that when Gidongo was appointed to the public service, he couldn't resist saying that it's our time to eat, meaning one tribe struggles to get into power so that they can eat with the members of their tribe, which is really a fallacy. And we felt that, our country is being torn apart. How do we try to ameliorate that as sensible Kenyans who've seen around the potential for this country? The second reason is that we noted that corruption has actually not even become our second name now, it's our first name. And I think this corruption, especially grand corruption that denies people opportunities, corruption that actually denies people schools, education, medicine, is become the norm. And that successive governments, again, that are premised around these notions of tribalism and regionalism and personality, have actually excused corruption to the extent that when Ken Walibora wrote his book, say Mbaya Wetu, so that if one of our own steals, it's okay, it's one of our own. So we felt that with ethnicity and tribalism, Kenya is actually dying. We also felt that as a Third Way Alliance, the youth and women of Kenya are for the longest time be treated as political flower girls. Every time every regime comes, they say, we will empower the youth, we will empower the women. They even create funds for women and youth. Youth Enterprise Fund, Women Enterprise Fund. But then what follows thereafter is how those funds, that money, find itself in the pockets of individuals. So we said as Third Way Alliance that this time round we want to take women and youth into government, because it's obvious, Mutegi, they are the majority. If today the women of Kenya and the youth of Kenya become deliberate and purposeful and say, we are going to form the next government, they will form the next government because they have got the majority of votes. So what Third Way Alliance is saying, we are tired of the idea of third gender rule. Women should be 50-50% in the running of government, and so are the youth. You see today, even as we speak, that the cabinet of President Uhuru is actually unconstitutional because it has not met the gender rule. You know that. And that really we are allowing an unconstitutional government to implement our constitution. And that brings me to the fourth ground. Why Third Way Alliance? That we need to protect the constitution of this country and enforce the rule of law. We gave ourselves a new constitution, Mutegi, in 2010. That constitution was supposed to reorder Kenya, give us a new thinking, give us a new lease of life in terms of devolution, resources, and all that. But really, the way the constitution is being implemented, it's a transgression. You can see a lot of transgression. You can see disrespect for the constitution. Either we pass laws that undermine the constitution, or we simply disrespect it. And I cannot begin to tell you, of course, how many times the executive has disrespected the constitution. Right now, I'm sure you see a lot of crisis around everybody is talking about the constitution from a lot of ignorance. And maybe to come to closer to the subject matter of our discussion today, I have had people say the constitution does not allow dialogue outside, say, parliament, and especially parliament, or even outside court. You know what, Mutegi? This is just sheer ignorance of people we hope will implement the constitution. Because if you read Article 159 of the Kenya Constitution, it's absolutely clear. It actually allows for mediation, conciliation, reconciliation. This is exactly why I have offered myself to mediate this stalemate, this standoff. Because where I think we have reached right now is everybody is chest thumping. Everybody is digging in. Jubilee is digging in to say we must go the parliamentary way, which of course is likely to be a long way. And I think ODM is arguing on the other, CORD is arguing on the other to say, listen, we already gave you a petition in 2014, which you threw out. The same parliamentary process that Jubilee is digging in. So CORD is digging in to say, no, we must have changes in the IEBC. IEBC is saying, you know what, you people have accused us without necessarily being clear about what is that we have done. So we are also going to dig in and say, bring a tribunal. We will defend ourselves. But look, the position of third way is this. Who really is suffering at the end of the day? So far, we've lost 4 lives. God forbid today, I hope nobody is going to be hurt again. I hope nobody is going to lose life today. So this is why we have thrown ourselves into the midst of this to say, listen, we never participated in the last general election. As a movement, as a party, or as individuals. We say, I think we want to come into this as habitat. And I have personally offered to try and help resolve this issue.
Can you tell us how you have offered? In what form? In what format? Okay,
so I can confirm to you, Mutegi, without necessarily mentioning names, and don't press me for them because I will not. I have actually met interested parties in this standoff. And for me, what seems to be stronger on the table is the possibility of a dialogue. Everybody is willing to go for a dialogue. And that dialogue ought to find the lasting solution, the most sustainable solution for Kenya. Because, Mutegi, if we don't fix this issue today about the electoral management body, you know very well that the wounds of 2007, 2008 are very fresh in our minds. And we do not want to go that route. I mean, I just want Kenyans to forget. You know, Kenyans have this culture of short memory. We need to go back to 2007, 2008. What exactly transpired during that time? So much to the extent that we lost 1,300 people. Property was destroyed. 650 people were displaced. So for us, and I've said, I am not going to stand on the fence anymore, lament and blame either CORD or Jubilee. We are going to tell them, listen, we can offer to mediate this process, and we want to put on the table 5 proposals.
To what extent have your offer been? What reaction are you getting?
Well, I can tell you that at least in 2 of the quarters it's been received very well. And that yes, that's a possibility. We can actually sit on the table and dialogue on the issue. And the dialoguing has to do with finding the solution that can give Kenyans the confidence in the institution of the IEBC. And what we are also saying is that let's separate, Mutegi, the institution of the IEBC and individual transgressions to the law. Okay? We are aware that there are charges of corruption against either some commissioners. You know what? EACC has been investigating that. DPP is supposed to be prosecuting. I think what people are forgetting is, why has it taken so long for these individuals to come out and say these are the preferred charges against particular individual? Because the failure to do that is what is threatening the very institution of the IEBC. This is a constitutional commission. You know, it has got its powers and mandates under the constitution. So, Mutegi, our concern is this. Every time we disagree with an institution or with the individuals inside those institutions, do we disband them? We did not disband EACC when the 3 commissioners were adjudged to have been incompetent to tackle corruption. We did not disband EACC. We did not disband the judiciary when we say that we need a total cleanup of the judiciary. We actually zeroed in on individuals. So what Third Way Alliance is saying, when we go into the negotiation table, the first thing that we'll put on the table is this. People, let's separate the institution and the individuals. Because it's not everybody in IEBC who may be in the wrong. Not the clerks, not the election coordinators in the counties, not, for example, the election directors. I mean, if it's the commissioners, which commissioners? So I'm saying, if we don't distill the real issues, if you don't say this is one or two things to be put, we will never be able. We will be this country that wakes up one morning and we go for mob lynching, we go for collective punishment. I think it's not the best thing for a country such as ours, which is so fragile in so many ways. Like I've just mentioned to you, the question of tribalism is very critical in this country. Corruption is very critical in this country. The rule of law, enforcing the rule of law is very important. And look at our youth. You know, I keep on asking myself, Mutegi, how is it that, you know, every Monday, for example, when CORD has said we are going to call for this rally, there is an avalanche of our youth that are readily available. You know why? Because these youth do not have opportunities. Because if these youth had opportunities, if they are able to report to work from 8 to 5 and eke a living and put unga on the table, be able to access a doctor, be able to pay school fees for their children or whatever. So, you know, we need to rethink, because Mutegi, we cannot always fight. We need to build a nation. You have quoted 159? Article 159. 159. Yeah. Every lawyer, including some professors, they are saying you cannot do this thing outside the Constitution. And they are saying this 159 allows it. Why is it they are saying you can't? And even the president said you must go through the process of the law. Because you cannot negotiate. Mutegi, they were saying, in fact, Ruto, you can't go meet three of us and decide. Of course, listen, you know very well that, and you see, this is one of the grounds why, you know, Third Way Alliance is saying we really must come on board as leaders 2017 to be able to protect this constitution and even just pursue the spirit of the constitution, not necessarily the letter. Of course, those people are politically expedient, they are politically convenient, they choose what to say about the constitution. The constitution allows for mediation. The constitution allows, in fact, it encourages dialogue outside. I mean, it's a question of convenience. I mean, when Ruto, I mean, of course, it's surprising that Deputy President William Ruto now, of all people, is actually advising people to follow the constitution. You very well remember that he marshaled all manner of resources to say that this constitution is bad, you know, it's ungodly, blah, 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 you know. But you know what? I am happy that people can eventually turn around to say this constitution can be used. I think I like that. That's really good, and we must commend Deputy President Ruto for eventually seeing the light of day that hii katiba ni mzuri kwa mwananchi wa kawaida na pia inaweza kuzuluhisha matatizo yetu kama wa Kenya. So I think it's convenient. I think it's expedient. People look at what is politically correct for me to say. You know, and the reason people are saying like that, Mutegi, is precisely the reason I've given you, that people have hardened their position either side of the divide. We need people to loosen up and say, okay, let's put Kenya first. Let's put the country first. What is in the best interest of Kenya going forward? How do we manage this election in such a way that it will not take us back to 2007? This is the interest of Third Way Alliance. This is why we are saying we are willing, and I am willing, and I have since taken the steps to meet some of these interested parties and ask them, guys, let's calm down, take a breather, it's about Kenya. What about other attempts? There are two attempts in Parliament. First of all, there are two bills have been published, are going to be published to deal with that matter, IEBC. Then there is a group of 166 members of Parliament who have also met, and they are trying to resolve the same. Where do you meet? You see, Mutegi, in fact, precisely for that reason, the church has spoken. The church has clearly said, you know, we need dialogue. 154 members of Parliament have actually spoken about the same thing. The rest of us are speaking about it. So really, what is so difficult? If today President Uhuru and Raila could invite each other to State House to have a cup of tea and have lunch, why is it so impossible to meet over the same matter of IEBC, especially because it's about the country? It's not impossible. In fact, for me, we should call everybody here and say, okay, guys, what is the best way to going forward? Call a money coalition, call CORD. I mean, I have said, I have offered to mediate. After all, I was very much at the center of recruiting IEBC. You know, so I think I even know the intricate issues around IEBC. And people have told me, perhaps you should take the blame for what IEBC today has become. I say, no. If you look at the process we took these fellows through, it's probably the best process ever in the 53-year history of Kenya. It was the most transparent. You know very well, it was televised live. We asked them questions openly. We asked Kenyans to give us dossiers about the various respective commissioners. We put these questions to them, and eventually we recommended 13 people for appointment. The then principals Kibaki and Raila appointed these people. So the process was above board. Now, if an employee changes midstream, becomes rogue or transgresses, you know, for me as an employer at that time, I was looking for the most competent and suitable individuals to put in place. So really, people cannot say, oh, Ekuru must take some of the selection panel. No, we cannot. I think for me that's a side issue. But let me tell you, Mutegi, Third Way Alliance and myself were proposing 5 solutions.
Which are which?
To IEBC.
Yes.
And these solutions and proposals are the issues that we think should be able to give every Kenyan confidence in the institution of IEBC. Number one, we think that IEBC should be able to assure Kenyans that it's able to detect fraud in the management of elections. In other words, we need to zero in on the systems and procedures in place by IEBC to ensure that fraud will be detected, that people will not manipulate election. So that's really proposal number one. And for me, I think this is one issue that we need to zero in right now. We have plenty of time to make sure that this is happening, because IEBC has been going through a lot of restructuring and processes. So we need to. This is one proposal putting on the table. The second one is to address the question of IEBC should be able to be audited by third parties. You know, the process of management of elections should not be shrouded in secrecy. Mutegi, you should be able to, as a personnel, to be able to say, and say, let's look at the processes of IEBC. Can anybody audit the process of IEBC? I think if those processes are auditable by a third party, then I think we can have confidence that our vote will be protected, will be managed. Number 3 is the independence of transmission of results. We need to know going forward that how independent is the transmission of results. Because as you know, last time, IEBC relied on Safaricom. Somewhere midstream they abandoned that, and precisely for this reason CODA said we are going to transmit our results independently. Now that really brings in a lot of compromising. Whose results must we trust and rely on? So IEBC must be able to assure Kenyans that the transmission of results will be independent, it will be tamper-proof. There will be no possibility of anybody manipulating it. Number 4, Kenyans need to be assured that the registration of voters is integrated with the voting system. You know, you see during election time, people say, oh, the voter register and the voting system are not integrated. So we need to see the extent to which those processes have been integrated to give people the assurance, because IEBC is about integrity and trust in the management. You know, there's a man called Joseph Stalin who said back many years that those who cast the vote decide nothing. Those who count the vote decide everything. We don't want to go that route, because that is a recipe for chaos. And the 5th issue, which is for me is very important, all the above 4 grounds I've given proposals depends on resources. If IEBC is not well resourced, even to put a tamper-proof system, a fraud detection system, independence of transmission, integration of the 2 registers, will be a mirage. You see, government has forever employed austerity measures on IEBC. Okay? There is no single time, as I can recall, that this IEBC has been given all the money it needs or the budget it needs to be able. I mean, Mutegi, and I think this is very important. If you keep on giving IEBC piecemeal funding, and it's not able to do all these things to make sure these systems and processes are concrete, are beyond, then, Mutegi, what are we talking about?
The complaint is that the Electoral Commission is the most expensive one in these regions. That you have countries like Nigeria, India, with millions of people who are voting. The amount of money per voter when it comes to IEBC is
I don't know how to. I've not really done a comparison of the expense on the IEBC, but listen, democracy is expensive too. When democracy loses a life, when democracy brings down a country, when the management of election, takes the country to the root of a failing state, that is the expense we are talking about. Of course, we can go back and see how we can reduce the cost, including there's a proposal on the table, reduce the commissioners to about 3 or 5. I agree. The Constitution allows for minimum 3, maximum 9. Perhaps we don't need that. Let's look at the cost of managing this election. For example, if we go IT, yeah, if we go fully IT, you know, somebody was joking about us Kenyans, saying that, you know, Kenyans are very foolish people. They have got 25 million people on M-Pesa account, and yet they cannot tap into that system to actually vote. We are busy struggling to register everybody. So, but the point is this: if you go fully technological on this, it's possible. Do you know the Americans vote electronically for president? Today, I just came back 2 weeks ago from California to meet the Kenyans in the diaspora, who are very bitter. Why are they being disenfranchised 6 years after the Constitution allowed them to actually be able to vote? So there is really no registration. So all you need is a technological. Some of these things are simple solutions in this day and age. But, you know, we need to address the mistrust this country has cultivated for a long time. Mistrust that's founded on tribalism, mistrust founded on personality. I think, Mutegi, that seems to be the crux of the matter. We are not giving the opportunity to our institutions to fully develop. We are not, and that's why every time we disagree with an individual, we say, disband the institution. I don't think that's the way to go. Certainly that's not our way. I am not in favor of disbanding IEBC. I am in favor of saying what are those things that we must fix now, and this is why I think dialogue of all parties is absolutely critical.
You are not telling me who you are dealing with, because you have told me about stakeholders, and you said even
interested parties.
At what level are you now in your offer?
Well, I started doing these rounds just 2 days ago. Yeah, as I said to you, I've not been able to reach all the parties, but at least I've reached interested parties, at least in two of the interested parties into this matter, and they are all willing actually to dialogue. So, and I'm saying, you know, this is what statesmanship, this is now the test for statesmanship in this country. Whether people really will continue to harden their position in their own small cocoons, hide behind the technicality of processes, or actually be counted, be seen to be counted that we need to save Kenya. We are putting Kenya first, because if this country goes down the line, all of us will burn. It's not a few individuals. You know, Mutegi, in 2007-2008 is the first time I actively participated in active politics, because we went around to Turkana County trying to help somebody get elected. And when we came back to Nairobi, hell had broken loose, as you remember. And we were sitting in our comfort zones, in our homes, especially as the middle class, working class. We sit in our comfort homes and we think, this election is about those fellows. Did you know we started looking at the refrigerator, Mutegi, and looking, okay, do we have enough supplies? Because then we are not able to go to Nakumatt Junction, we are not able to go to Prestige, we are not able to come to Yaya Center to shop. So this is about us. It's about us as a country. It's about Kenya. And this for me is where leadership is really tested. Leadership is not about playing the hardball just because you are in a position of advantage over the other. No. That actually is experience, and that I think means is selfishness. Leadership must be able to step up when a country is in a position of crisis, as I think we are, because some of the parties are threatening to boycott election. That's not a good thing. Kenya is a great country, Mutegi. I mean, even our own placement, we are so great so that today the way we play our politics is the reason we are being snubbed. Can you imagine even some of the landlocked countries whose names I don't want to mention here are snubbed us? They are saying that they cannot do business with Kenya. I'm worried about, for example, our SGR projects. It's likely to be a white elephant project if they are not able to tap business regionally. If all this business is diverted. Why? Because they are seeing the political contestation in Kenya is hurting business. Today, do you know how many businessmen might be today just really growing with pain? That today I'm not able to go open my shop because I'm scared. So we cannot allow this to happen. That for me is what real leadership is all about. Stepping up to address the issues of your country.
So you have said you are offering, not you as an individual Kuru, but the Third Way Alliance.
No, I have offered as a Kuru to lead this discussion. Of course, I'm a member of the Third Way Alliance. I'm the team leader of Third Way Alliance. But I have said I have gone out of my way to actually reach out to these interested parties to ask them, Can we,
as an individual, not as the third way?
Of course. I mean, this is a discussion we've had as third way, and we say, okay, what can we do as a movement, as a political movement? And that's why I have decided to step out of my way as a leader of this movement, to reach out to.
Maybe you might want to tell us the other faces behind the Third Way Alliance.
No, Third Way Alliance is a clarion call, including you, Mutegi.
No, I'm not. I don't belong to any political party.
I'm saying it's a clarion call, including to someone like you, that let's think alternative leadership for this country. So we have individuals, we have groups, we have youth groups, we have unionists, we have some of the teachers, we have some of the medical practitioners, we have personalities, we have diaspora. As I said to you, I've just come back last week, 2 weeks ago, from California, where I went to meet the diaspora. So Third Way is a people's movement. Actually, we are going to appeal to Kenyans to invest in the leadership of Third Way. Because Kenyans must own a leadership. Leadership in this country, the way I've seen it over time, Mutegi, is individually owned. People will only listen to Moneybags, Mr. Moneybags. If you come with the big money, you own a party. So I want Kenyans to think outside the boxes of personalities, of money. We are trying to decommercialize politics in Kenya. The way we organize our politics. That's why for me, Mutegi, I look forward to your contributions, how you can put me on the road to go and preach this message.
Now that your presidential candidate, is that not going to compromise your offer to negotiate? Because they will say you are also your presidential candidate. You are not. You have a serious stakeholder, because you might want to form an electoral commission or system that will favor you as a presidential candidate.
Which is why you can see in the proposals I've given, what in these proposals is personal to me? Nothing. As an interested party, because I want to participate, and I will be participating in the next general election as a presidential candidate for Third Way. But I would like to go into this election with systems and processes that will give me confidence that the vote, whether I'll get 5 votes, 10 votes, 1 million votes, 2 million votes, I want to make sure that that vote is protected. Even if it is one single vote, it has to be protected. I must have the confidence that whoever cast the vote for me from wherever they are, that the system protected it. So actually, people should be happy that presidential candidates like us are offering to resolve this. Because listen, Mutegi, if we don't come out, and I'm also calling upon my good friend Musalia Mudavadi of Amani to come out and offer to help this. Because if we don't do that, we are reducing this matter of IEBC to Raila Uhuru matter. Code Jubilee. It is not about them. It's about Kenya. It's about all of us. When Kenya acts, when Kenya burns, it burns with all of us. So this is why for me, as a leader of Third Way Alliance, I cannot fence it anymore. I can no longer. I mean, and that for me, Tegi, is and that for me is what leadership is. That for me is what statesmanship is. It's not sitting on the fence and in your comfort zone and saying, let them resolve it. They may never resolve it. They may actually take the country the road we do not want to. Kenya has been described as...
You don't see the parliamentary method working?
I say, any method that can give us a solution is welcome. My preference is that parliamentary method, like I said, and this is what CORD will argue, again, if we insist on the parliamentary method, actually we are hardening the position that CORD is bringing on the table, which is, we've been there. They threw it away. And very well you know that there is fear of tyranny of numbers. So what we are suggesting is a more, if you like, a more Solomonic pathway to resolving this issue, which is really the interested parties, who are not too many, remove the politics a bit, put the country forward and say, okay, what are the 1, 2, 3 things we must address for IEBC to go forward? I'm also trying to persuade some of my friends in CORD and also Jubilee. Please, let's separate the two issues. The two issues of personalities within IEBC and the institution. I am for saving the institution. I am not excusing individual transgressions or those officers within IEBC who may have committed offenses. I mean, we are a country that should pride ourselves of constitutionalism and the rule of law. And we must pursue that angle. Okay? But what I'm saying is, yes, we can go the parliamentary way, it's an option. But it's already an acrimonious process because of its history. And because if you look at the problem IEBC really, Mutegi, is a very historical one. It's historical. But again, at the same time, I do not favor us going back the IPPG way. where again we reduce the electoral commission to a management of political parties. Of course there are systems elsewhere in the world where political parties nominate, but which political parties will nominate today? How many political parties do we have in Kenya? Are you going to have 50-something commissioners if every political party that's fully registered says I want to nominate a person? No. And that's why for me I'm saying, and I'm appealing to both sides, that let's step up our leadership, let's step up our statesmanship for purposes of the country. It's not about our personalities. And I think this is really the difference. And this is what we at SADWE are actually urging, the leadership of this country from both sides. Let's think about Kenya and how we can fix this institution. And I've just given you 5 key proposals, which we will be tabling.
When you say the IEBC must assure Kenyans of 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yes.
IEBC who now? Which IEBC?
You see, Mutegi, even if today we sent home all the commissioners, we will still remain with the institution of the IEBC.
Yes.
Its infrastructure, its systems, and all those things. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. We are talking about IEBC, the institution. I mean, individuals should not go away with an institution. If today Mutegi Njau left Citizen TV, Royal Media Services, should Royal Media, or today if SK Macharia decided, I am so tired of this business, I want to do something else, should he close down Royal Media Services? Royal Media Services is an institution. So that is the principle. That's what I'm saying. If people separated their own political emotions from this issue, we should be able to save the institution of the IEBC. We should be able to pride ourselves. You know why? In India, I think in India they only have 3 or 4 commissioners.
Yeah.
And this is a country of about, 1 billion people?
Yeah.
And the results come in a record time of about 9 hours or not even 24 hours. So why can't we do? We have the intellect, we have the talent in this country, we have the competence, we can do these things. We can fix IEBC, just like we can fix all other institutions. We didn't disband and scrap away EACC. I keep on going to that example because it's very important. We've already seen examples where the president himself has stepped up in his leadership and said corruption is bad, it's killing this country. Those who are within my government and you are implicated, I would like you to step aside. Then files are handed over to DPP. Today we are seeing people are in court. Ngilu is in court, Kazungu, Engineer Kamau and others. So it's possible. If we separate the individual from the institution, we can actually get a solution. Yeah? And the country will be happy, and there will be no threat. Investor confidence in this country is waning, especially going towards the election. I want more investment to come into Kenya so that we can create opportunities for our youth. We don't want to scare away investment.
You have told me you have had this effort has been for 2 days now.
Yes.
What next? What are you going to do next? Towards this development? I
am hoping that in the next 1 week, I should be able to bring on the table these parties. It's an offer. We are offering, and I'm offering, and I'm going to go for it. I'm going to go all the way to reach all the interested parties. And actually, my appeal will be, I wish people could stop. And by the way, while at that, let's not condemn people who are exercising their democratic constitutional rights. Going on demonstration, picketing is a constitutional right.
But the court has stopped it.
Yeah, if the court has stopped it, then let's respect the court order. If the court has stopped it, we must respect the court order. That is very clear. Yeah. But let's not condemn people who decide to pursue their constitutional democratic right. The only caution I will say is 2 cautions. One, let's not be destructive, because the Constitution uses the word peaceably. Anybody can demonstrate peaceably. So let's not be destructive, because if you destruct property and harm people, then you are attracting the law. Secondly, my other caution goes to the police. We've seen instances in the past where the police have actually used brutal force. When a demonstrator or rioter becomes rowdy, arrest them, handcuff them, So don't brutally beat somebody like the way we saw that guy being beaten like a snake. That's not the kind of image we want to portray out there. After all, you have so many policemen. What's so difficult just picking one? So I would caution that even as people exercise their democratic right, we all have a duty to respect and uphold the Constitution. This cuts across. It doesn't matter who you are, whether you're president or you're that small person in the field. But to the point of IEBC, we must resolve this issue now, because we have a lot of work, a lot of preparation to do. Because the election, as you know, is the 8th of August next year, 2017.
Thank you very much, Ekuru.
And thanks for having me, Mutegi.
I hope they will listen to you and invite you so that you can negotiate and end the impasse. Thank you very much. We will now take a short break.